Update is brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. We'll start with tonight, Thursday night football between the Cowboys and the Seahawks. 5:15 kickoff there. Of course, you can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. Tomorrow night, Aztecs basketball back in action versus UC San Diego. 7 p.m. tip-off there, 6 p.m. pregame. And baseball news of the day, Nick Martinez signed a 2-year, $26 million deal last night with the Cincinnati Reds. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour one of Jon and Jim. This is going to be very labor intensive for us today. We are working until 5:15. I know a lot of our listeners probably don't have such a lengthy day where they're working for 2 hours and 15 minutes. How many times we've had Jim before? We're with you, by the way, till 5:15, as he just said. Thursday Night Football. Remember when we would do like an extra 30 minutes, Brent, and Jim would be like, this is absurd.
When did I say
I've
that?
got to work like 3 hours and 20 minutes.
When did I
this
say
is
that?
like almost illegal.
When did I say that?
You've said it.
I probably have, but I'm asking you when have I said
I
it?
don't, anytime we have to go an extra like 20 minutes, you're like,
I'm like,
this is crazy. We got to talk sports for another 20 minutes. Like, I need to call my boss.
look, I'm not denying it. I'm just asking you, like, when did I say that?
It maybe has been like, I think I told you a couple months ago, like, stop doing that, because our listeners are working real jobs. Okay.
True.
We're helping them get through their day.
And I should know, because Erin, bless her heart,
has a real job.
Has like a real legitimate job that she works like 8.5, 9 hours a day.
Yeah, like consecutively.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've learned not to go home and bitch about your long
man,
day to her.
100%. I
she
never
probably
bitch
hates
about
that.
my day. I
Yeah.
never, ever complain about how long I work around her, because she gets home and she's like dead. But I get home and I'm like, so what do we want to do?
Honestly, I like this as a segue to, like, it's hard to complain about a $200 million payroll, because there's still going to be,
Watch me.
You know what I mean? There's still going to be top 10. And a team just won a World Series with a $200 million payroll, the Texas Rangers.
Okay.
Now, the way the Padres have spent their 200 is probably not as good as the way the Rangers spent their 200, and that's fair. But the smoke is real right now. I know Darren has been talking about it today. Dennis Lynn saying Juan Soto has likely played his final game in a Padres uniform. Andy Martino, SNY, we talked about it. He'll join us, by the way, after the winter meetings at some point in December. He is saying that the Padres and Yankees are at the point where they're exchanging names on a possible trade. Yeah. So it's not the $200 million. It's the way they've used their $200 million. And this, if you want to live in the fantasy world, now I'm fine to live in it. I cannot guarantee Juan Soto will be traded. And I'm not trying to guarantee it. I don't want him to be traded. There's a scenario where he's not, I'm sure. But we have to be realistic here. And everything you read and everything that makes sense involves Juan Soto not being here. So the Padres can even lower their payroll, Jim, to $200 million.
Dennis's piece today about, like, here's the options for this team with projections, and they have this much money to spend. And if they keep Juan Soto, if they trade Juan Soto. And I look at the reaction to it.
Oh, you mean that hit piece, Jim?
And it's like,
kidding, Dennis. I'm kidding, Dennis.
Me too. Like, what is Dennis? He's super biased. Why do you hate the Padres?
It was all like factual with numbers.
The thing is, and I saw it on Twitter, X, whatever. I forgot to save it. I can't take credit for it, but it's
okay.
the what the person said was along the lines of, are you mad because you hate this person, or are you mad because of the facts that make you upset? Like, the facts make you upset. Like, sure. Oh no, your football team loses. It's like a factual thing. You're upset about that. You can't, like, when someone's putting out facts and giving you like legitimate reporting, and you call it a hit piece, you're just mad because you don't like what the person is saying. Like, you're upset that this reality is like coming to life. So instead of like getting upset and forcing you and turning your disappointment towards the real cause, which is AJ Preller and the Padres, you attack the actual piece.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And it's like, what do we call it when we like are biased towards what we, Brent, you know what I'm talking about. Like, where basically it's like if you read news that confirms your bias.
Exactly.
You know, and
recency bias.
Yes, thank you. So it's like, and I understand that. It's like when we were going through conference realignment, it's like you only want there's only certain things you want to believe.
Here's the tweet. It says, Is it a hit piece or is it just facts that make you upset?
Okay, who's this from?
As someone on Twitter
Okay.
from at Krabby Patties.
Oh, Krabby Patties. Yes, thank
But
you.
it
Our
was
new producer. Forget Darnay.
yeah, screw that. Krabby Patties,
Move
you got
over,
a job.
Darnay.
It pays you absolutely nothing.
It's more than Darnay makes with us.
Right, exactly. But that statement there, that's exactly the right statement to be said about it. Is it really a hit piece? Or are you just mad that you don't like the facts? That's what I feel like right now. It's it's totally understandable. Like, am I upset that they're on the verge of trading one of the top potential 5 players in baseball right now? Yeah, I am. Because I think Juan Soto is fantastic. I would love to build my team around Juan Soto. But the reality is setting in, like eventually, most likely, like Dennis said today, we are on our final days of Juan Soto in a Padres uniform. And it sucks, but that's the reality we're in.
And we've been saying that this week, and I would say this too. And here's the thing. Forget about the idea that Juan Soto is going to have a big 2024. He will. You can't concern yourself with it. He goes to the Yankees. He's going to have a 1,000 OPS season. He's about to be a free agent. He's 25 years of age. The ballpark's a joke. So are American League East ballparks. Okay. Go get the right return for Juan Soto. If it is what it is, make the most out of it. Like make whatever out of, like chicken
S out of chicken S into chicken soup.
Right, something like that. Like if you have to do it,
that'd be disgusting.
If you have to do it, don't go cry about it, but just go do it. And I'm seeing this also on social media. He doesn't need to do it immediately. It has to be done on the Padres' terms. You got to wait as long as possible to create additional leverage. But we're thinking, and Dennis is writing, and others are writing, the first shoe to drop is Juan Soto. It's almost like they're paralyzed until they make a determination on Soto. How can they make other moves? Look what's going on around baseball. Nick Martinez is going to the Cincinnati Reds. They can't do anything, Jim, until they free up payroll. The way to free up payroll, unfortunately, and a lot of payroll is likely through a Juan Soto trade. So until they do that, they're going to have to complete a roster. They can't wait till March 1st to trade Juan Soto and then figure this out.
No,
no
can't.
way. There's no way.
No way. So it sucks. I think, and Darren talked about it a little bit, like the feeling of a fire sale. I know someone sent that into the text line. Okay. Like this isn't a fire sale. This is a necessary evil move that has to be pretty much done because they put themselves in this position. Don't forget, guys. Do not forget. The reason why they have to potentially trade Juan Soto here is because of AJ Preller. Like, don't get it twisted. All right. Like, there's other factors that play into this. But
I do think there's other factors, and I agree with you. If there's a pie chart, majority goes to Preller. Charts. Yeah. And he would be like, there. Let's say there's 3 colors. Blue is Preller.
Can he be yellow?
He could be yellow.
Okay. I don't know why. I just chose that.
What percent of the blame in this whole?
More than 50%.
Yeah, I agree with that. So he gets the majority of the blame. I do think there's other factors to consider. I really do believe that. And I think circumstances change. But you're right. It's like you said it a couple of days ago when I was driving to San Diego State, not on the show. It was enjoyable to listen to you. Oh, nice. You said like they created this mess.
Don't forget that, guys. Like when you're upset at all these reports and whoever's going to report Juan Soto being traded and blah, 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 blah. Don't forget that the reason why these are all reports are coming out and these quote unquote, hit pieces, whatever, is because just directly towards the Juan Soto thing. All right. Is because this team completely effed up every single move the second they traded for Juan Soto.
Right. It's like the Soto thing was good, but everything from there on out,
they
didn't make as much sense.
Completely mismanaged
Bogarts,
all of it.
Machado, Darvish, Cronenworth.
If Juan Soto, who I'm sure is viewed by this organization and Preller and scouts and whoever else, and rightfully so, if he's viewed like we view him, I know some people think that he's like a diva and not really good, and that's completely ridiculous. But if the view on Juan Soto is what I think it is, which is he's a top 10 player in baseball when he's right. When he's on, he's one of the best hitters in the game.
I'll tell you this. If he gets traded this year, Jim, he'll be up. I promise he'll be a top 10 player.
If that's the view on him, the second that you traded for him a year and a half ago, every move that you made after Juan Soto should have been about keeping Juan Soto for the long term. Like the top goal is, how do we keep Juan Soto long term? So what moves do we need to make to ensure that happening? And they said, screw it. We'll put Soto to the side. We'll go sign Bogarts. We'll give $100 million to Darvish. We'll give $80 million to Cronenworth. Hey, screw it. We'll give $350 million to Manny Machado. Like, they screwed it all up.
But did they get? And I agree with you. I do. But should they have put the eggs in that basket? Sure, the day of the trade, you felt really good about the Padres' ability to potentially even retain Soto, but they said 3 pennant runs. But did they get information between the day they made the trade and even last year's winter meetings when they signed Bogarts and then the 2023 season that they wouldn't be able to retain him? Like, did it become realistic over time? Like, this is, guys, it was already a bit of a reach. Now it's become impossible to fathom us having the $525 million or whatever it's going to take, where we're at a point where Scott Boras, even if he goes to the Yankees, you're still reading he's going to want to take his client to free agency, even if he re-signs to the Yankees. And the number 440, and I've read this recently, is not going to be anywhere near good enough for Juan Soto if he posts and produces in 2024.
That's a great point, because you definitely run the risk of not re-signing him.
What if you didn't re-sign him? Even if you played all your cards perfectly and then he walks.
And you don't have Manny, and you don't have Bogarts, which I think would be fine.
And you don't have Soto.
You don't have Soto, and you don't have Darvish. I mean, look, I would have been okay if they didn't have Bogarts now, right? Because it looks like it's turning out to be, as of this moment, could change. As of this moment, though, it turns out it's looking like one of the worst contracts in baseball.
If he does it again one more year, it's an awful deal.
Awful deal.
So he has to have a much better year.
I agree. But as of right now, this moment in time, it's a horrible deal. Could change for sure with a good year next year. But in this moment, it's a bad deal. So I get what you're saying, and it's a game of risk. Like, okay, we're going to risk it all here to try to keep Juan Soto, or we're going to go the other direction and we're going to just allocate all of our money past a threshold to and we're probably going to lose Soto here in the next year. And instead of 3 playoff runs, we have 1 playoff. So I get what you're saying, totally.
Yeah.
I get, oh my God, look at all that kombucha.
Oh my gosh. What's happening?
Oh my gosh.
I think I see some of our friends at Nova Kombucha.
That
Novo
is a
Brewing.
lot of Novo kombucha.
That's basically a complete commercial free. Let's just drink kombucha for the next 2 hours.
So anyway, I get what you're saying, and it makes perfect sense. I just think they do want to keep Soto, though. And because that mindset's still there, they effed it up.
That makes this point. And I did not hammer this point the second the season ended and they didn't make the postseason. And by the way, a lot of the moves Preller made, I would have made, and I would have looked bad too. It's not an easy job. Most GMs lose jobs in short periods of time. A tenure like Brian Cashman is unheard of, right? That's a 1 in 30 type scenario. And Preller, you could argue the merits of what he's done. And it's fair, I think, to say his track record isn't great. The more you look at it with the benefit of hindsight, this trade deadline 2023, Jim, when they sweep the Texas Rangers, is like the worst thing that could have possibly happened.
It really is.
I hate to say, if they would have gotten swept by the Texas Rangers, and we'd have to go back and look at what their record would have been. If the Texas Rangers came here and swept the Padres, made them look bad, couple of listless performances by San Diego, a couple of 6-1 losses and a 6-3 loss, and now all of a sudden, what would your record have been? Because they were already middling, but then they sweep the series. If you would have given them 3 losses there, and I don't know if it's as simple as this or not, but imagine what you could have done payroll-wise and capital-wise with prospects. Mm-hmm. If you just was said, you know what, this isn't happening, Blake Snell, we got to maximize the rate. We got to get a return here. This isn't happening. Hey, by the way, look at the payroll in 2024. Do we move Soto and maximize the return? Again, it's hindsight. I'm not saying I would have done it, even though I said I would have done it. But isn't it funny how one series kind of altered the trajectory that they went down? It felt like that in real time.
Yeah, but also hindsight here, like, you really think Peter, with everything that was going on, and we don't know if he was dealing with health issues then. Do you think he would have signed off on trading away Snell and Hader?
Right, Hader, yeah.
Like,
right.
I don't know. Like, a part of me now thinks like there was like two things going on there.
Gotcha.
And
that's
we
fine.
And I don't know if that's to be true or not. It just,
and that's why I don't want to say it. That's why I don't have all the facts. And I don't know what I would have done. And I think it's a hard position to be in. And Peter Seidler's health absolutely can play a factor. And that makes sense.
Yeah. Because the last time we spoke was before the deadline.
July 1st.
About a month before.
Yep. You're right.
So I don't know. I don't know. But from a pure baseball standpoint, from a pure like roster standpoint, you're absolutely right on that front.
Here's where it is, though. They were 52-54 with a sweep. So they entered the series 49-54. Just hear me out. If they lost 3 games, they would have been 49-57.
Done.
The season would have been over.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, you know what I mean? Again, everyone's got the perfect answers in hindsight. And I'm not saying I have the perfect answers, but it just seems like to get nothing for Snell, to get nothing for Hader, and we'll see what they get for Juan Soto. Man, they've really put themselves back because of they had a real opportunity to get a return for a Josh Hader or a Blake Snell, and they just didn't.
I said at the time, like, okay, cool. You don't trade these guys.
Better make the playoffs.
You better make the postseason because then it's going to look even worse down the road. So we're now. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Probably should say maybe the wrap question.
Okay. We have one spot open for wrap. You can do it now and from now. Our listeners typically change.
You know what? I'm going to keep it for the wrap.
No, you can't do that.
Nope. I'm keeping it.
You can't do that. Some people won't be listening to us in the 4 o'clock hour.
No. Keep it in the wrap. Sorry.
Nick Martinez, the Cincinnati Reds, by the way, 2 years, $26 million. Everyone's telling me on Padres Twitter, I'm glad the Padres didn't pay it. It's a reach. He's a spot starter, and he's not a closer. What I would say is Nick Martinez did everything he was asked of by the Padres and made starts. And if you would have paid him $13 a year, you would have paid him to start. Yeah. Because they got spots open in the rotation. $13 a year as a starter, as we know, is not a reach.
Nope. Luis Severino got $13 million. He had 5.6 ERA last year.
It's like
or 6 ERA or something like that.
It was over 6.
Over 6. Yeah. When I saw that last night, the first thing I put out there, I was like, this is interesting.
Yeah, because it confirms they don't have money.
Like, did they just think Nick Martinez wasn't a good pitcher anymore for that value? Probably not. But it definitely signals, like you just said, if they're not willing to give a quality pitcher like Nick Martinez, who you have had in the building for the last 2 years, and you've seen what he can do,
right.
and you need pitching,
and felt like a clubhouse culture glue guy,
yeah,
right,
like do anything for you,
right?
Like you kind of want that guy like on your team. He's not going to be a guy that's going to ever throw 200 innings or have 20 wins, but he can give you 140 innings a year, 150 innings, right?
Yes,
and maybe go to the bullpen if needed at all. And he's making $13 million a year, and it's a 2-year 26. Like that's not breaking the bank at all.
I don't think so.
That this time last year, that if they signed Nick Martinez, that'd be viewed as like, oh, that's kind of a little bit of a steal, a little bit. So it does speak to a lot of things that are going on. Is that they declined the mutual option.
So it was mutual because he opted out too. Right? What was he owed if he would have stayed? Roughly, do we have any idea what was the number?
I think it was like. Dude,
it wasn't a big number.
The deal was crazy. I think it was like 16 or 18
for the next 2 years or 1 year.
2 years?
Yeah, I forget too. But
so he
got more.
He got more.
Yeah.
Which he should have.
I love the signing for Cincinnati. I really do.
I mean, a $5 million boost, like that's not crazy breaking the bank. If all said Nick Martinez signed a deal for $50 million, I understand.
Yeah, definitely. I'm completely with you. If you got a 5-year deal or $20 million a year, okay, but
2 for 26?
Like, guys, this is the cost of doing business.
And you can't do that? And you need pitching?
Well, that goes back to that's why you can't wait on Soto, because Soto is going to allow you to do things you need to do.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Like, I'm just, wait till you see what Lugo gets, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Wait till you see what potentially Waka gets.
Right.
You know, and if Seth Lugo gets a deal that is very reasonable, like say a 3-year 35. I know it's like, I don't know the math on that.
Just under 12 per year.
If he gets something like,
right?
Okay, say 3,
I don't know if we'll get 3 years though.
3 for 40?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get 3 years. 2 for 30?
2 for 30?
2 for 35? I don't know.
Say he gets 2 for 30.
Okay.
You're like, it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't even get close to that. You didn't even try for that. I'm not saying that they haven't or wouldn't or didn't or
when you
whatever.
max out credit cards,
yeah,
you know, then you can't. And we said today, it's like they were buying things that were more affordably priced, but they went for the higher price. It's like if you buy a $5,000 TV, that's on you. You don't need to spend $5,000 on a TV, even if you're rich. What's the difference?
Yeah, they went,
And the Bogarts thing was that reach. And again, in real time, like great, 2-time world champ, like good player.
they took that credit card. They
Yeah.
went to the casino. They thought they were going to win big, pay off the credit card, and also gain money. And they lost.
They
it all.
lost, yes, and now they got to deal with it. And I think the way to deal with it, by the way, it's not the end of the world. If you make the right trade involving Juan Soto, again, neither of us are proponents. If you make the right trade, you can position yourself potentially well moving forward. But it's got to be the right trade, and they're going to have to make a decision on him sooner rather than later. On the other side, Paul Charchian, GuillotineLeagues.com will get us ready for this weekend in the NFL, including Thursday Night Football tonight right here on San Diego Sports 760. Sean Lewis doing work already on the recruiting trail. We'll talk about that later this hour. The new Aztecs head coach just underway. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, Paul Charchian, guillotineleagues.com, getting us ready for this fantasy football weekend that kicks off tonight. Stay with us.
All right, this update is brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Thursday Night Football tonight could be a good one. Cowboys and Seahawks, 5:15 kickoff there. We're carrying the game tonight, so you can listen to that right here on San Diego Sports 760. Tomorrow, Aztecs basketball back in action as they take on UC San Diego, 7 p.m. tip-off. 6 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts. In baseball news of the day, Nick Martinez signed a 2-year, $26 million deal with the Cincinnati Reds. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is all yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
All right, we've got Thursday Night Football tonight, 5:15, as Jim just said. Cowboys, Seahawks. Let's kick off the weekend with Paul Charchian, guillotineleagues.com, talking fantasy football every single week with us, Thursdays at 3:30. Charch, always great to have you with us here in San Diego. Let's start with tonight. Again, we're carrying the game here in San Diego. Cowboys, Seahawks. Dak is on this roll. You just look at what he's done here recently. I just had pulled it up. 4 touchdowns, no picks, or 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. I mean, he's on quite a roll right now. Where is he on your list in terms of fantasy quarterbacks heading into this weekend?
He's number 5.
Okay.
And he has been great. I'll expand on that just a little bit. Over the last 5 weeks, which is a pretty long sample size in the NFL, Jon and Jim, 320 yards per game and 3.5 touchdowns per game. That's, staggering numbers, really. And entering the MVP conversation, Dak is now, and with a potential to move into a command position in a couple of weeks when they play Philly, by the way. I think they get the win here tonight, but there is some sneaky downside in this game. A few weeks ago, we talked a little bit about a matchup involving Seattle's defensive rookie of the year candidate, Devon Witherspoon. He's their slot guy, their primary slot guy. They also use Jamal Adams a little bit. Both of those guys really shut down opposing slot receivers. That's CeeDee Lamb. I mean, that's the go-to guy for Dak. So if they can keep Lamb in check, that's half the battle for Seattle. And then overall, their pass defense has just been really good. 5 of the last 6 passers to face Seattle, 0 or 1 touchdown. and some pretty good ones in the mix there, like Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, Lamar Jackson, all held to 0 or 1 touchdown. So yeah, that's you still kind of have to start Dak. He's red hot. It's not like this is an impossible situation for him, but there's a little bit of sneaky downside with Dak this week tonight.
So it's a brutal week for quarterbacks this week because of how many are on a bye. And so a lot of teams and a lot of people are going to be playing their backup quarterbacks. I would assume a lot of people would have Geno Smith as their backup quarterback. Should they be okay with starting Geno Smith this week, or should they try to go find another quarterback on the waiver wire?
I'd find somebody else. Even with 6 teams on bye, I have Geno Smith at quarterback 17. So I think you can find waiver wire help like Gardner Minshew is an option, maybe a couple other guys that might make more sense. Here's why we can't pivot to Geno Smith tonight. I don't think. Even your most casual listeners, Jon and Jim, they know that Dallas's pass defense has been amazing this year. Mm-hmm. They rank number 2 in pass defense by Pro Football Focus, number 4 in coverage by Pro Football Focus. They're number 1 in ESPN's pass rush win rate. And Geno Smith just hasn't been good. Get this, over the past 5 weeks, his passing grade by Pro Football Focus is 25th, right next to Aiden O'Connell. There's a scenario that could unwind tonight. Seahawks fall behind. Maybe Geno Smith throws a couple of picks, and Drew Lock could end up finishing this game. There is some momentum to see if Drew Lock can't help what has been a really underwhelming pass offense. And so, yeah, I'm not starting Geno Smith if I can avoid it. And even DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, normally guys you just throw in your you line up every week. Those guys do a little sketchier too here than you might think.
Paul Charchian is with us, guillotineleagues.com. We're talking fantasy football for this weekend. Again tonight, Dallas, Seattle. How do you feel about Tony Pollard? He scored in consecutive weeks. Is he a good start this week?
Yeah, I think he really is. You remember he had the really frustrating start to his year. He had a couple of touchdowns in week 1, and then promptly didn't do anything for 8 more games, and just killing fantasy owners with that. But better lately, and this could be a smash spot tonight. Over the last 4 games, Seattle's run defense in 4 games has allowed 8 touchdowns to running backs, an average of 127 rushing yards and 52 more receiving yards to running backs. When Royce dropped the piano, Freeman is racking up 73 rushing yards on your defense. Something has gone horribly wrong. So yeah, I like Pollard. The backup Rico Dowdle is pesky, and he gets some work in here too, and actually is startable if you're in a pinch. But Pollard has outsnapped and outtouched him in every game, and I think that'll be the case here too. So really like Pollard. He's inside my top 10 this week, and Rico Dowdle. If you're in a pinch, again, he's the guy you could go with.
So when Jonathan Taylor was out this year, Zach Moss did a fantastic job for the Colts. And then Jonathan Taylor came back, and I'm sure a lot of people said, all right, well, Zach Moss, don't need him anymore. If you're one of those people, should you try to go back and get Zach Moss? Or if you have him on your bench, time to put him back in the lineup?
Yeah, this is a tricky spot this week in particular. Obviously, you want Zach Moss because Taylor's likely to miss 3, 4, maybe even 5 games, typically with this thumb surgery that he had. And Moss was really good. It's just, you mentioned it early on. He's number 2 in yards over expectation among running backs, and he's number 2 in efficiency among all running backs this year. Zach Moss. So when they're facing the Titans, and back when they faced the Titans earlier this year, it was all Zach Moss, and he pounded the Titans for 195 yards and 2 scores. So there's going to be a temptation to throw Zach Moss right back in your lineup. But wait, before you do that, the Titans, that game he had against the Titans is a total aberration for the Titans' entire season, and especially recently. No other back has hit half that many yards against the Titans all year. And over the last month, Tennessee, arguably the NFL's best run defense. Over the last month, they're giving up an absurd 2.7 yards per carry. That's it. So I don't think the 195 yards and 2 scores, again, aberration. Be careful on Zach Moss here. I've got him right now sitting at running back number 31. So be careful on Zach Moss. It's not the auto start, it feels like.
I know Austin Eckler a lot of times, does well out of the backfield in the receiving game, but you look at what he's done this year just in general. He hasn't had a 100-yard game since September 10th. He's been overly underwhelming, as have the Chargers in general. Do you expect that to continue or not?
Yeah, I kind of do, and especially this week in particular. And you're right; I think it's way more underwhelming than most people realize. So I'm digging into this. Like, where's it going wrong for Austin Eckler? First, he's ranked 21st in yards over expectation among running backs. 21st. I mean, we're used to Austin Eckler's like a top 5 guy, right? He's 25th in rushing efficiency. And how about this? He's only finished with an average over 3.5 yards per carry, which is nothing. I mean, it's like a failure rate, 3.5 yards per carry. He's topped 3.5 yards per carry once since the opener. That's it. And you might be thinking, Jim, that, okay, but I'm here for the receiving side of Austin Eckler. Even that's not coming together. He's only giving you 3.5 receptions per game, and Pro Football Focus ranks him 56th in receiving among running backs. Austin Eckler? I mean, this is wild. And then this weekend, he gets the Patriots. So the one good thing that the Patriots have been able to do all season has been run defense, and they're giving up just 3.6 yards per carry over the last 5 games. They've got the 5th highest run stop win rate. So I don't think it's going to get any better for Austin Eckler this week.
I'm curious on your thoughts about this weekend's big matchup, Niners-Eagles. Eagles defense, the numbers are not great. Like, they're kind of in the 20s as far as pass defense goes. Their linebackers aren't really, the best in the league, but they have a really good offensive line and all that. So for you, do you see this being a big fantasy week for this game, or how do you view it?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot. I think there's going to be more points scored in this game than people realize, and Brock Purdy could be sitting on a really big game. You touched on something. This Eagles secondary just getting hammered. They over the last 4 passers have averaged 322 yards and 2.8 touchdowns. That's remarkable output against a team that's got 1 loss. We're heading into week 13. Eagles have 1 loss, and their secondary is getting beaten. Now, Purdy is always a low volume guy, so that makes him a little bit tricky. But the Eagles are seeing the most passes per game, 41 per game, and the 5th deepest pass. So I think this is I think the San Francisco the passing for the San Francisco 49ers is going to be very good in this game. I like Debo, I like Ayuk, I like Kittle, and I like Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is my number 5 ranked quarterback this week. So I think there's more points coming than a lot of people would think.
Paul, for our listeners, if they're looking for your fantasy weekly rankings, where can they find those?
That would be guillotineleagues.com. Also, Fantasy Football Weekly is one of the most listened to fantasy podcasts. And it's also, guys, I'd like to remind you, it's also available as a radio show, a 2-hour radio show to all iHeart radio stations, including your own. So you can, you've got 2 hours to fill. You can always just slot the Fantasy Football Weekly in.
I love it. Paul, we always appreciate it. We'll do it again next week. Happy holidays to you. I know it's still November. Maybe that's a little risky to say, but I think
there yet.
Jim said the same thing. I say it.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't.
He's
happy holidays.
like, Merry Christmas.
Just kidding. I started Monday's show saying Merry Christmas. He laughed in my face.
Happy Valentine's Day, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Happy Halloween. Thanks, Paul. All right, Paul Charchian, guillotineleagues.com. On the other side, Sean Lewis, new Aztec head coach, already doing work in and on the recruiting trail. Also, why not to panic about SDSU players that are entering the transfer portal? Next on Jon and Jim. All right, this is a huge college football weekend, championship week. It's a huge NFL weekend. We're heading down the back stretch. Get ready for all your game day needs, tailgating needs, viewing needs at Windmill Farms. They've got it all for you. And then I've been telling you during your work week, if you're looking for an affordable lunch, you got to get over to Windmill Farms with their sandwich card. Your 8th sandwich is free. They keep the prices on their sandwiches incredibly low. They use fresh, high-quality ingredients. They have so much pride in doing that. Windmill Farms is the college area's natural grocer. They've got you covered with organic farm fresh produce and meats, an amazing craft beer selection, kombucha as well. They've got that full deli with the award-winning sandwiches we've told you about. They're centrally located here in San Diego off Del Cerro Boulevard across from Montezuma Mesa, family owned. Trevor, his mom, his family, they've been in the grocery business for over 20 years. They support local businesses like Harris Ranch, Mr. G Salsa, and more. You don't have to live or work near the college area to take advantage. You can find Windmill Farms on Instacart. Why not just have your groceries delivered directly to your doorstep? Also, they've got great specials each and every week, and you can take advantage of those by just going to windmillfarmsmarket.com. Again, that's windmillfarmsmarket.com. So whether it's your lunches during your work week or getting ready for your weekends, check them out. Windmill Farms. Shop local. Shop at Windmill Farms. Sean Lewis is wasting no time. I mean, he's wasted time with us on the radio. He's done those things. But in terms of recruiting, San Diego State's new head coach, he's already on the recruiting trail. This earlier today from the recruiting director of 24/7 Sports, like all they do is like follow all of this.
Yeah.
And Steve,
Almost 24/7.
20 exactly. It's like 7-Eleven, but even more
How long
hours.
is that? How long
Do you know
is
why
that?
they called it 7-Eleven? Because it was open from 7 to 11. And that was like revolutionary at the time.
What?
It was open like 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Nobody was doing that back in the day.
So okay.
Anyway, Steve Wiltfong, who's the director of recruiting at 24/7, writes this. San Diego State's Sean Lewis offered Indianapolis's Cathedral quarterback Danny O'Neill a scholarship last night. Now, this was the decommit from Colorado we talked about earlier this week.
3-star recruit.
Let me read this real quick and you comment. O'Neill has been one of the Midwest's top signal callers the last 3 years. In his time as a starter at Indianapolis Cathedral, he won a state championship, threw for 7,700 yards, 98 touchdowns, completed 62% of his passes, also rushed for 1,300 yards and 27 touchdowns. Where do we sign up?
Is that good?
Sounds pretty good.
We know the connection between him and Sean Lewis. We've heard, because we talked about it yesterday, the quotes from Danny O'Neill talking about one of the main reasons why he committed to Colorado was because of Sean Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
And then the day before Sean Lewis gets announced as the new head coach here at San Diego State, Danny O'Neill decommits his verbal commitment from Colorado.
Right.
And the first thing everyone does is you put 2 and 2 together.
Right.
And after talking with Sean Lewis yesterday, the importance of a quarterback for him is everything. I would guess that the number one thing that he is doing as of right now, which started last night apparently, I need a quarterback. Like, I need to get a quarterback in here. I need to get my quarterback in here because I want to start fast. Like, his whole mindset is fast, right? In his Twitter bio, it says, like, life's too short to huddle, which is awesome.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. That is awesome.
And so we all know that it will take time for sure. We've seen the amount of Aztec players entering the transfer portal. They currently, the quarterbacks on their roster, I mean, you have a redshirt freshman, and I think he played a couple snaps this year. But other than that, you need to get a quarterback. So for him, I would bet you that's the number one thing he's doing right now.
Did you see the one thing that I found fascinating? I didn't realize this yesterday. Darnay tweeted about it. Thank you, Darnay, for producing the show.
Oh, thanks.
He said that when Sean Lewis got to Eastern Illinois, everyone told him in 2013, there's no quarterback in this roster. You need to go out and get a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo was on the roster. So my point is, you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know. And you got scholarship quarterbacks on the roster that I'm sure will get consideration. And again, can they run the system he wants to run?
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. So there's Danny O'Neill. And then there's College Football Network that's tweeting out about Temple quarterback and the son of Kurt Warner, EJ Warner.
Yeah.
And the tweet says this: Syracuse ? Iowa ? San Diego State ? This wasn't happening previously. You weren't seeing transfer portal quarterbacks necessarily getting tied to San Diego State. And I'm not saying that this is someone even on Sean Lewis's radar, but it's being written about in publications that cover the sport. And again, Sean Lewis is known as an offensive innovator that's had a ton of success with his quarterbacks. So I think you're going to see a lot of quarterbacks potentially linked to San Diego State in the days ahead.
And over time, I would expect and I would hope that the time that he spends on recruiting for quarterbacks starts here in San Diego, because there is a plethora of good, very good high school quarterbacks in San Diego that are getting
There's great quarterbacks.
scholarships from like Alabama and, SEC schools. And we've seen how many Heisman Trophy winners have been here in San Diego?
At least a few.
So at first you kind of need to go to your guys. Like, okay, I have a relationship with Danny O'Neill, right? I need to get someone here. I need to get my guys in here. I need to get people that know me. I need to get people that I have a relationship with, that I've potentially recruited already, talked to, get them in here. And then over time, because he signed a 5-year deal, you start hopefully seeing him recruiting quarterbacks from San Diego. to come to San Diego State, because if they do well next year as far as the offense goes, I'm not going to put any expectations on what I want to see wins and losses wise, because I think you got to give the guy a year, right? Because a lot of people, the transfer portal, everything, got to give a guy a year. And then hopefully the offense improves, and then you can start recruiting and say, look what I did my first year here offensive wise. Come here and we can be better.
And I would say this about the portal, to your point, and you're seeing Aztecs from 2023 putting their name in the portal. If you follow this sport, this is completely normal in today's day and age. Completely normal. You're seeing a lot of offensive linemen have gone in the portal, and others. Talented players maybe we've seen before, others that we haven't, starters. But this is completely common. And when you have a coaching change, it should be expected. So I don't think there should be any panic with players going into the portal. Obviously, Sean Lewis is going to put his stamp on the program. You're going to have a lot of student athletes back. I promised you that. You may have some players enter the portal and potentially return. Mm-hmm. You're also coming off a 4-8 season. So the fact that there's Aztecs with the season having ended now 3 or 4 or 5 days ago or whatever it is going into the portal, that comes as literally no surprise at all to me.
Yeah. But wouldn't you bet that one of the first moves we see as far as the transfer portal goes or recruiting is a quarterback?
I don't know if I don't know. Maybe I don't know the timing on it. But you're saying maybe that's one of the first things you see is, hey, they got this quarterback via the portal or prep route. Here's a high school commit, Danny O'Neal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe it's possible to make that splash. Yeah, and to kind of not start a class, but to get that recognition. Also, we're going to learn more on this coaching staff
for sure. Yeah,
who will any of these coaches be retained?
Mm-hmm. We'll see how he builds a roster, and we see what he views as like, the important, like how much importance does he put on the offensive and defensive lines? I think
he said yesterday to us, I mean, it all starts up front.
Yeah. Like quarterback, offense, and defensive lines. Like you recruit heavily in those three areas. Everything else falls into place, hopefully.
All right. On the other side, who has the worst take? All right. We'll explain at 4:30. There have been some awful sports radio takes in the last 24 hours. Also, the wrap, plus your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. Hour 2 of Jon and Jim next.
This update's brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Thursday Night Football tonight. Pretty good matchup. Cowboys taking on the Seahawks. 5:15 kickoff there. Of course, we'll carry that game live right here on San Diego Sports 760. Aztecs basketball tomorrow night, back in action versus UC San Diego. 7 p.m. tip-off, 6 p.m. pregame coverage. And baseball news of the day, Nick Martinez last night signed a 2-year, $26 million deal with the Cincinnati Reds. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is all yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour 2 of Jon and Jim with you until 5:15 tonight because of Cowboys and Seahawks, as Jim has been telling you during the update. So Thursday Night Football here tonight. You're going to hear some awful radio takes. We typically provide that to you, but you'll hear more of them coming up at 4:30.
I feel like we don't go this route. Like, we don't go the hot take, what the F are you talking about route.
Let's tease it like this. Craig Carton has one of them.
Colin Cowherd has
and
another.
Colin Cowherd has the other. Which is worse?
They're not even hot takes as much as they're just stupid.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to get dumber, stay with us at 4:30. Also, later this hour,
perfect tease.
Later this hour, a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. We have the wrap to get to. Why don't we just do it? Should we do that, Jim? Did someone say, by the way, you're wearing the same thing as you wore yesterday?
I am not wearing the same thing.
Right. No, yesterday you had your Marty McFly jacket on. Today you're wearing your Marty McFly quarter zip.
He thought I looked like Marty McFly yesterday.
Well, of course he does, because he's probably never seen the movie. So
no, but it's all photos.
He had to ask me. I get to Snapdragon yesterday, ready for the press conference for Sean Lewis.
Marty McFly had a blue shirt and a red vest.
And he goes, what are you wearing? I go, a bomber jacket.
Yeah.
He goes, you look like that one guy from that one movie. I'm like, what movie? He's like, that one movie, I go, Marty McFly. And he goes, yeah. And he looks up a picture of him and he posted on Twitter, Brent.
I put a picture of Jim and a picture of
and we didn't
whomever.
even look.
No, you look nothing alike. And then people are like,
alike.
they don't look alike. I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
I don't know why he thought it. Like, Marty McFly wore that cut off red little jacket with
it was a vest.
Yeah, it was a vest.
And you weren't even wearing a vest. Well, what's this you're wearing today?
Well, people think I'm wearing the same shirt.
It's a golf.
It's a pullover.
No, the pullover they're talking about.
No, someone said that I was wearing the same.
It's similar color.
Yeah, no,
they're both kind of that olive color
T-shirt.
So,
what is that? A golf quarter zip from where?
It's from a golf course at my
golf course.
What my dad used to work at.
Okay, great. Let's get to this.
Windsor Golf Club. Shout out Windsor.
If you're listening.
Would you guys take the Yankees or the field in terms of a Juan Soto trade?
I will take the Yankees on that one. I just think there is too much smoke here for it to not happen. It makes sense if you're taking out your fandom, objectively. It makes sense for both parties. It just, whoever AJ Preller trades Juan Soto to, he better get back pretty close to what he wants. There better be at least one player that he has targeted that he has to get. I'm not trading you Juan Soto unless I get X player.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't get him, I don't care how much what you think about him, whatnot. If I don't get him, you're not getting Juan Soto. Stand your ground.
Yeah, because there's a lot of teams that are going to be interested. This isn't just some guy coming off a nice year. It's Juan Soto, future Hall of Famer, entering age 25 season, walk free agent year. He's going to explode in 2024. You should get a max return for him. I'm taking the Yankees too. And I know there's a lot of interest. I just think Yankees, Cashman, circumstance, timing, their system, what the return could be. I believe it'll be the New York Yankees. I wouldn't be surprised if it was another team. I'd be surprised if he wasn't traded. But I do think it'll be the New York Yankees, no one else.
Yeah, I think so too. But
American League.
Get him as far away from San Diego as possible.
Even though the Yankees are coming here next year.
True.
But then you could do a Soto bobblehead or something.
I won't see it because it'll be my wedding. So
we're going to move the wedding if this trade happens.
Okay, talk to Aaron.
Call Aaron.
Hey,
get
babe,
Aaron on the line.
Got some bad news
Didn't
for
we have
you.
Aaron on the show a year ago when you started dating? We're like,
hi,
Aaron.
We had her on for championship week, Niners Eagles.
Yeah.
And she said I was going to cry, and I literally did cry.
That was bad. Next question.
You pouted.
I was upset. Yes.
Will the Aztecs have a top 50 offense in the country next year?
Aztecs football.
No
Well,
hockey.
their basketball right now is top 25.
I know.
I'll go to Ken Palm. Check that out.
Yeah.
They're 18th in Ken Palm.
By the way, breaking news, everybody. Net rankings drop on Monday. Get ready for that.
Yes, commercial free.
John has a countdown clock like it's New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I'll set an alarm for like 4 a.m. Pacific because that's 7 a.m. Eastern to see if it's up.
I'm gonna say no. Hope I'm wrong. I'm gonna push it out up to.
No,
I'm gonna say top 75 offense,
which would be a big improvement.
which means I think they're gonna be like in the 70s. I hope.
Which is okay. They're in the 110 range, let's say right now.
That's
at
a
130.
huge jump.
110 to 75 would be a huge jump. 110 to 50 would be a big leap.
That would be like overnight. Oh my God.
Oh man, it's hard to say. I think it's possible. We have no idea what they're going to do. Still, I think it's possible. I mean, right? No one's saying top 10, but could they be top 50 in year one with Sean Lewis? I'll say yeah. I think it's a possibility, and I'm with you. I think no matter what, even if it's top 75, that's a drastic increase, going up 35, 40 spots overall in total offense would be a big win.
Yeah. One thing you can't see, or not can't, but just don't want to see, is the offense ranked like 98th or something. That's not really, to me, a jump
progress
that you could say, like, I see what the vision is. Now, you can talk it all you want, but you got to show it. Hopefully they show it.
Next question.
Jim just teased it. Where will the Aztecs rank when the initial net rankings for the season are released on Monday?
Oh, great question.
I wonder who wrote this question.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Net Rankings. By the way, John texted me this morning or this afternoon, I guess.
What?
And you're like, hey, net rankings are coming out on Monday. We're legitimately going commercial free.
And if Soto gets traded, we're not even mentioning it.
Yeah, we're not. Soto gets traded Monday on the first day of winter meetings. Transfer portal day. If Aztecs and Sean Lewis land a quarterback, who cares?
No, but I do get excited for net rankings. Now, in my list of things, I'm really excited about the transfer portal right now with football.
It's intriguing.
I love Ken Palm and net always. I love winter meetings and Padres possible trade. So they're all up there for me. I am excited to see where the Aztecs rank in the net day one. Do you want to throw a number out? Don't want to even throw a number out?
29.
11th.
Okay.
Now, this is assuming they beat UCSD Friday night.
29 too low?
Could be.
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. Remember that. 29, 11. Brent,
16.
16. All right. Next question.
Will Juan Soto be on the Padres by this time next week?
That was my question for you.
Well, it's actually Brent's question for both of us.
No. I know, but I put that in the wrap.
Yeah, no, I get it. So now answer the question.
I'm going to say no.
We agree today because we said Yankees earlier, and now I'm going to say no. I think he's gone within a week.
The winter meetings are how long? Like 3 days?
Sunday to Thursday.
Okay, so Thursday is the end of the winter meetings?
But that's like Rule 5 draft day. You normally would have stuff by like Wednesday.
I'm going to say, he's gone. I'm going to say he's gone by Wednesday next week.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to
heat up very fast. I think the rumors are going to be crazy next week. Could be wrong. Could be quiet as hell. But if there's already rumors now, the way they are,
maybe we should send you there to cover it. You could just go there.
Oh, you got the money?
No.
Okay.
Well, you could just
hitchhike.
Just go. Hitchhike to Nashville. I think he gets dealt, and I don't think it's the end of the world. I really don't. What the end of the world is if you get a wrong return for him, or if you don't make a decision on him and you drag this thing out, or you keep him and are paralyzed by your inability to make moves to be, relatively good next year. I'd prefer keeping him, but I'd prefer that they had payroll flexibility as well. And they need starting pitching, and they need relief help, and they need a bench, and they need a second catcher, and it goes on and on and on. They probably need a increased production in first base and center field. So how do you do all that? By moving Juan Soto, unfortunately. And that's what we've been talking about throughout the course of the week. But when I read what Dennis Lin writes, when I see what Andy Martino is reporting out of New York involving the Yankees and the Padres, I don't think this is just thin air stuff that's being made up. I don't. I believe that the Padres have a real priority of lowering payroll, and a way to do it and also get a return is by moving Juan Soto. And that's why I think we're reading about it over the course of the last week or more.
It sucks because I think there's factors here that are kind of out of the control, even though they put themselves in this position. Like, do you really honestly think AJ wants to trade Juan Soto? Like deep down? No, of course not.
Right.
We know what AJ thinks of Juan Soto. Okay. It's just kind of one of those things that you don't want to do, but you got to do. It sucks. You hate it. It's like it's your own doing though. And so for anybody thinking that AJ's doing this because he like they're doing a fire sale or you know like Juan Soto or whatever the case may be and blah 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 blah, like no, he's not doing it because it's a fire sale. He's doing it because he put himself in this position that they can't build a cohesive roster. So blame, if you're going to blame anybody, right? Blame the person in charge. That's AJ Preller
or Canada. But I think it's a fire sale if you move two of these quote unquote either stars or big contracts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think that'd be great.
Well, I'm saying if you move two of the big four, that's a fire sale. Big four is a fire sale. I'm not saying I wouldn't trade Bogarts either.
They traded Soto
and
Bogarts.
Yeah, you'd see it as a win because of the Bogarts.
I would still hate it because you could trade Juan Soto, but you got off that horrible contract.
I know, but how could you then at that point not say it's a fire sale? You've moved like $60 million in two players.
Fire sale to me is everybody, John.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everyone's hard.
To me, it's everybody. Too.
Everyone's hard, though. I mean, there's no trade clauses everywhere. Like you literally can't trade everyone.
You're telling me that you wouldn't?
No, I would, but it's going to be
them
perceived,
getting off the Bogarts deal,
dude. It'll be perceived as a fire sale.
Same thing with exactly the Juan Soto deal is going to be perceived by some fans as like a fire sale, even though it's not.
I don't think Soto's a fire sale. I think Soto's a recognition of they got themselves into credit card debt and now they need to get debt free. Where when it's multiple, like, how are you selling it to the franchise or the fan base? Your big four is now two.
I bet you the uninformed fan that just reads the headlines is going to think that this is like, what is AJ doing? I can't believe he did this. He just traded away one of the best players in baseball. Why did he do that?
844-570-1360. What would you see as a fire sale? Is moving Soto a fire sale? Soto plus another member of the big four a fire sale? Darvish? Or is that just moving off bad contract?
Dude, to me, like, if they moved off, and this is obviously much easier said than done. This is playing like fantasy baseball or like MLB The Show, right? But if in a fantasy world, they move off of Bogarts and Darvish, and they also move off of Soto, the Soto thing I would hate it. But to me, it'd be like, okay, you got rid of two really bad contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And you still have Tatis, you'll still have Musgrove, you still have Manny. And you have so much room.
And I don't think it'll happen because I think it's hard to move those contracts. I just think the perception will be, whether it's right or not, you've just moved like $80 million in annual contracts. If you move Darvish, Soto, Bogarts, 80 of 200 is a fire sale. I mean, and Peter Seidler said, unless I'm crazy, I'm not saying it's the definition of what the Marlins did like in 97.
But the thing is, like, those players aren't deemed great, John.
Well, Soto is.
I know Soto is.
But Bogarts is a two-time world champ.
But the thing with Soto is the likelihood of you signing him to a contract is pretty close to zero. Okay? So you're trying to get something out of that deal. The Bogarts and Darvish deal, if they had all-star type of seasons and Bogarts last year was amazing and Darvish was amazing and they traded those two guys, then yeah, I could see fire sale. But those two guys are not good.
But no one's coming off a good year. Bogarts not. Machado not. Tatis very average. You see what I'm saying? Like all these, then none of that's a fire sale. None of those guys are coming off great years. I think
Suarez. For me, a fire sale is deemed you get rid of all your players that had good seasons and everybody.
Well, who's that? It's just Juan Soto, really. Who had a good season? Ha-Seong Kim?
Yeah.
So if you moved Ha-Seong Kim, and you know what I'm saying? Like there's not that many players that had good seasons. Maybe this is just what's the word? We're just deciphering it differently. But I'm telling you, if you're moving 80 million in contract, I also don't believe that if they move 70 or 80 million in contract, they're going to then spend it.
Well, it's not going to happen, so doesn't matter.
Probably not, but they could try to shed more than Soto. And at what point you say, wow, they are really, really, it's all about getting under a certain number. And it's not just 200, it's 175 or it's 185. And at one point you say, like, hey, if you went from 250 to 175, I mean, there's not a lot of teams in baseball shedding $75 million in payroll in a year.
Me personally, in a fantasy world that we're talking about right now, if they got rid of Darvish and Bogarts, I would applaud the hell out of it. And I would not view it even slightly as a fire sale.
If it was, you said Bogarts and who?
And Darvish. Not even
No,
close.
I agree.
Not even close.
I do agree, but I'm just saying, I think there are those that would say,
I'd view
what
that as a
on
massive
earth is
win.
happening in San Diego?
They realized their mistakes and they actually got off those horrible contracts.
Do you think that, okay, would you then say 2024, the only way to sell 2024 is rebuild?
Well, it's not a rebuild because you still have Manny here. You still got Tatis here. You still got Musgrove. You still got Kim, Cronenworth, for whatever you want to say about Cronenworth.
Yeah, I know, but they had all these players a year ago plus some, and so you're gonna lose all that productivity, and you're gonna go plus 10 and
what
wins?
Productivity from Darvish and Darvish gave you literally nothing last year.
Darvish, you're counting on it to be like a 180 inning guy. They're paying him $100 million.
Yeah, and guess what? He's not that guy.
Okay.
Xander
Xander's
was a shell of himself last year.
Okay, last year, but I mean, you didn't pay him to be a shell of himself.
We'll see what he does this season. If he has a good season, then that's great. Then you can kind of somewhat justify that contract. But as of right now,
so you're saying fire sale if it's like Tatis and Soto?
Yeah. Well, fire sale, it's everybody. Like, but the thing is, these are all fantasy questions because they're never going to do it. Because you know how much money they'd have to eat to take these bad contracts. But to me, a fire sale is defined as everybody, and your team next year looks like the Oakland A's.
Yeah, you're giving up.
Right. That, of course, won't happen.
And
we all agree.
with
That if that's your definition, that's not happening.
And with Tatis and Manny and Musgrove still on your roster, and Kim, that's not giving up.
Okay,
you're still like trotting out some pretty damn good players.
The Cubs a couple of years ago was a fire sale when they traded Bryant and Baez and
2021
and Rizzo.
So I just Googled it, like fire sale on Baseball Reference.
Yeah.
And like the examples are like the Expos in the 90s is like a complete fire sale.
Yeah, the Padres have a fire sale here too.
2021 Nats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marlins after they won the World Series.
Yes, correct. That's in there.
You can throw the Padres.
Padres
in there,
92, 93.
Yeah.
Fire sale.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, not a fire sale. The Juan Soto thing, the reason why you trade Juan Soto is because you can't re-sign him, so you have to get something back for him. The reason why you would trade Bogarts and Darvish is because those contracts are god-awful. And that's not, to me, a fire sale at all. That's like smart business. Even though I think the Soto trade would be also deemed as stupid. But hey, whatever.
Yeah, I guess any way you slice it, fire sale, no fire sale, whatever's the payroll's going down. And there's only one way to have the payroll go down, and that's to lose talent on your roster.
I just want to see what this roster looks like on the first day of pitchers and catchers.
Here's what I'm going to say about the roster the first day you see it. It's going to look drastically different.
Yeah.
I mean, drastically different from even the final day of the regular season or the beginning of the offseason.
How many rookies do you think they're on this team next year?
A handful is my guess.
Yeah,
a handful. Because that's the only way you can do it. When you tie up so much money in 7 or 8 players, you need to tie up so little money in 7 or 8 players. It's the only way to make it work. And that still may involve moving Juan Soto.
But hey, that's not a bad thing, though. It's not a bad thing to lean into your farm system if you believe in it. I mean, if the Padres truly believe in their farm system, it's not a bad thing to lean into it and have these guys hopefully, come up and produce because they're highly ranked prospects.
Well, especially if you get a return for Soto.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden your system that might be a little lower level heavy, if you can add a couple of pieces at the top of your system that can like pay dividends in 2024. Again, you're not going to have 10 rookies.
No.
And you're not going to win with 10 rookies, but can you?
If 1 or 2 hit, then that's like great.
Yeah, and they'll have it. They'll have more than 1 or 2, and hopefully 1 or 2 do hit.
Like good teams blend your star players that are making a lot of money and your rookies who are performing.
Yeah,
Like
Arizona this past year, Dodgers every year.
the Rangers last season.
Yep.
I mean, you had Corey Seager, who won the World Series MVP. Fantastic. Look how much money he's making. But also, I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah, who just raked.
Who they brought up, who was a rookie that was a stud. Like, that's what you need. You need to have a rookie, like
Evan Carter.
Evan Carter, yes. You need to have somebody come up in the system and just be a stud for you.
Well, they got candidates.
They've never had it besides Tatis.
Well, they got candidates, the Merrills of the world.
And then they paid Tatis right away. So it didn't really have.
I don't fault that. I
don't
mean,
fault it
honestly,
either.
even with I think they'll get the return on the investment for Tatis. I don't know if they'll get the return on the investment for Machado contract 2 or Bogart's
Can Merrill,
11-year
can
deal.
Graham Pauley, can somebody in your system that we're not even talking about right now come up, fill a spot, and actually show a lot of promise. And
yeah, Jason Dominguez. When they get him from the Yankees.
Yeah, when he comes
7
back.
days.
Yeah, and he comes back from his UCL.
The
surgery
Yankees would
and-
never trade prospect 74 in baseball. How could you think you could get the 74th best prospect?
Yeah, we won't see
The
him
New York
until,
Yankees.
We won't see him until August next year.
Well, whatever. I
I know.
mean, but you can't worry about that.
I know,
You're thinking
I know.
long term.
I know.
All right. On the other side, some of the worst takes in sports you've heard, at least today, from both Colin Cowherd
Maybe ever, honestly.
and also from Craig Carton. Plus, later this hour, your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. We will play Trainwreck Radio. That is trivia. Again, a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets. Not right now. Don't call right now, but later in the hour to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. Which take is worse? Colin Cowherd, Craig Carton edition next. All right, the worst take of the day, was it from Craig Carden or Colin Cowherd? That's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. We'll start tonight, Thursday night football, about 45 minutes away from kickoff between the Cowboys and the Seahawks. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. Aztecs basketball tomorrow night at UC San Diego, 7 p.m. tip-off. 6 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts. And baseball news of the day, Nick Martinez, he signed a $26 million deal, 2 years, with the Cincinnati Reds. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
All right, so what would you consider to be your worst sports talk radio take? You've had some bad ones. Now, mine's clearly Shohei Ohtani is overrated.
Yeah.
I'll take blame for that.
I don't. People got mad at me when I said Manny Machado needs to be better, but that's not really like a.
Yeah. You've had some bad ones.
Like what? I can't remember.
Well, you were like,
I'm wrong.
Is Gary Sanchez better than like Hassan Cam?
No.
I'm like, no.
No, I'm wrong about things. Like, I think this is going to happen. But like, if I had a take of Juan Soto's lazy and he's overrated and he's a bum and he's a clubhouse cancer.
Yeah, that's a bad take.
That's a bad take.
Are you saying that?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But
What's been a bad Jim
release?
take?
That's your press release?
70470 started with team. Give me a bad Jim take, or in the chat if you're watching on YouTube.
Bunch of them.
That's what I'm saying. 70470 started with the team. Listen, was it a little bit of a stretch for me to say Ohtani was like the most overrated player in the history of sport? Maybe.
You said it in the midst of like the greatest stretch in baseball history for a player.
Still to be
It might have been a
determined.
bit of a stretch.
He had like 9 RBIs one game, and then he had a shutout the next game with like 13 strikeouts.
It was off the cuff wrap-up show midnight. I was mad about something.
You were so mad.
And then I was like trending on Yahoo Japan. I couldn't sleep for 4 days.
So I know Darren does like a rate the take, like on his show, but
Doesn't he do a rate the call?
Oh no, I did rate the.
Yeah, it's not rate the take.
Rate the call. Yeah, maybe rate the call.
Jonathan with Jonathan.
Jonathan, yeah, rate the call.
That's
rate
a
the
call.
Yeah, it's a call. This one is just like 2 takes that are horrible.
All right, let's just see.
And we'll see which one's worse.
Which one do you want to start with? What do you have, Brent? Doesn't matter.
Just
Doesn't matter.
Do we need to set any of them up?
Not really. You have Craig Carton, that's in New York.
Talking about Dak is going to be a father.
Yeah, this is his take on Dak Prescott being a father.
Okay.
Dak Prescott will be a father soon in March. Congratulations, Dak Prescott.
That's a mistake.
My point to it all is, at the end of the day, it comes down to beating the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, why'd you tell me that? That changes everything.
Why? What does that change?
There goes the Cowboys season.
How do you do that?
Oh.
No, they just announced the
Are you
pregnancy.
not a fan of fatherhood?
I am a big fan of fatherhood. I'm blessed with 4 beautiful, healthy
I thought
children.
so.
You have beautiful
Yes.
kids. You guys have kids
We
as
all have
well.
kids out there.
This is a terrible distraction now for Dak Prescott.
How?
He's not married, right? So now I got to question, is she a gold digger?
No,
she might
she's
not
not.
be. I got to question it, right? Number 3, you got everything going great. The last thing you need now is the distraction.
Shoot. What are you going to do? He's having a baby in March.
I hope they have a beautiful, healthy
And
child.
he's winning, by the way.
I hope it all works out.
It will.
But this is not what Cowboy fans want to.
Dak Prescott will be a
That is an awful take. That's bad.
It's
That's really bad.
horrible.
The
Like,
baby's
what?
not going to be. They don't play football in March. So
And
how's
even
it
if
gonna be
they
a
did,
distraction?
I mean, come on.
It's,
Like,
it's horrible.
people have children.
But do you think there's a little like tongue in cheek there,
Yeah,
Or
but
do you
Craig
think he's-
Carton can get away with
or
stuff
do you
like
think
that?
he's
But
being dead serious?
I mean, he's caught in a bad pickle there. He tried to get himself out of it a little bit, maybe, but that's just an awful, insensitive, bad thing to say. I would say.
Because right, no, absolutely, 100% agree. But sometimes we're like, oh, like we joke, like, oh, you had a kid, like, oh my god, blah blah blah, like it's a joke. I don't know if that's a joke from Craig Carton.
I don't know either, but we would never be like, we can joke about our own, like, oh, is Aaron going to be pregnant or John is gonna,
What?
But for me to be like, hey, Juan Soto is expecting to have another kid, this is going to impact his performance on field.
Yes.
There was some stuff on social about Tatis this past year we didn't touch.
No, because it's stupid.
Because I'm like, that's not on field stuff. That's
No.
not fair.
So yeah, that was a horrible take. Insensitive.
Just
Like-
stupid.
Like, what are you
And
doing?
again, he can get away with it because it's Sports Talk Radio. Nobody's going to hold him to it. Whatever.
Stupid take.
Okay, now Colin Cowherd goes after your best friend Brock Purdy, right?
Yeah, my boy.
All right, take a listen.
There is one thing that does make me pause on San Francisco. You know, I'm a big believer. I like my quarterbacks to be adults. I don't want them to be frat boys. So Jalen Hurts at the podium is the best podium quarterback in the league. Hat on forward, professional, almost manicured. Got that CEO like a real grown-up. Brock Purdy. Hey, you guys want to hit some golf balls? You got a hat on backwards.
Oh my god.
Not a franchise quarterback. I mean, and come on. If that guy came to move your couch, you'd be like, are you a professional? I don't know. I'm telling you, it really bothers me. Maybe I'm overstating. He's probably a nice kid. He's got his dad needs to call him and say, turn that thing around. By the way, you guys say it doesn't matter. All right. I am not, I'm not saying you can't wear it backwards in the garage, playing frisbee, but hacky sack, your baristas out there. I know that's the de facto, default, dress attire. Franchise quarterback, Wednesday podium. Jalen Hurts is how you want to look. Franchise quarterback, CEO, respectful to the owner and the organization.
I thought at first he was kidding, and then he got serious. It's also very dumb. I would put Carton's take as dumber and way more insensitive than talking about Purdy wearing a backwards hat.
Yeah, this is Colin's bit, right?
Right.
The backwards hat thing, he hates it. He leans into it.
Which
There
means
has
it's playing.
to be a point. Because by the way, I looked at the tweet and the first 10 replies are all pictures of Tom Brady wearing his hat backwards at a podium.
Right.
And then you have Matthew Stafford wearing his hat backwards, and you had pictures of other really good players at the podium wearing their hat backwards, like Patrick Mahomes wearing a hat backwards or something.
Yeah,
So-
but you're talking about Brock Purdy.
Right. But so when you're bit, and that's fine to have a bit. Everyone has a bit. When you lean into it, you better at least have a backup to support your bit. He's got none. He's just doing it because he's trying to be funny, and it's not funny anymore.
And it's recycled.
Very recycled.
No, because I just YouTubed quarterbacks that wear backward hats, and I got a video from 2020 of Colin ripping on quarterbacks for wearing
That's his thing.
hats
Yeah, no, that's-
backward
he's done it.
because not Carson Wentz wore a
Yeah, he's been
backwards
doing
hat.
it.
Yeah,
So
that's-
he
that's
threw a
what-
fit about it.
That's what it is, Brent. That's been his bit for a long time, and it's tired. It's not funny anymore. The way he did his voice, the voice was
You
funny.
could tell he was trying to be a little funny.
But when your support of these quarterbacks aren't franchise quarterbacks because they wear backwards hats, and then the guys that you're talking about have backwards hats like Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford, your take is stupid.
For me, it just makes me think Colin is this total snob to where, if he hired movers to move his couch and the dude showed up with a backwards hat on, he'd be like, "Oh, are you a professional? I expect my movers to wear 3-piece suits to come and move my furniture and sweat." It's just like,
Here's
dude,
the thing with Colin. He doesn't do this because he believes it. He does it because it gets a reaction. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, he elicits reaction.
I mean, the amount of hold on. Let me show you the amount of retweets and quote tweets from this stupid bit that he did today. Guarantee you it's in the 500s easily.
Yeah, but does he? So what? Does that really do anything for him? He's
Yeah.
making $25 million a year. You think he needs 500 retweets?
It says 1.5 million views.
Doesn't matter. You think
Doesn't matter.
He doesn't make a penny less if it gets 1 million.
He's in
views.
they're in the business of generating clicks and views.
Yes, but I mean, he's been in that business for 20 years, and
Right.
he
continues with it.
He doesn't make $25 million because of that take.
Yeah, the Craig Carton take is dumber for sure. This is a fabricated take to get clicks. Guarantee it. He doesn't fully believe it. I know it.
Well, obviously,
He's
he
doing
doesn't
it for
fully
reaction.
believe it, but I mean, I don't think they're like, "Yo, we need to get 1 million clicks today."
Really?
Yeah, really.
You don't think the
No.
company
No.
that lives off of social media interaction doesn't sit there and say, "We want 1 million clicks on something today"?
Fox?
Yeah.
No, I don't think Fox's revenue model to pay Colin Cowherd 25 million is social media clicks at all. I think it's probably distributing his syndicated show to 500 stations. That's what I think
how
the
much
model
they
is.
promote.
That's what I think the model
You know how
is.
much they promote their social media clicks, John, and views?
Do you know where he makes his money? On TV and radio.
I bet you there's a social media aspect in his contract. Guarantee it.
Maybe. But I'm telling you that his TV show and his radio syndication is where Fox makes their money off Colin Cowherd.
The reason why he did that today is to get views.
Well, yeah, that's how he's been successful.
Right.
He's done this for 25 years. He'd attack individuals or players, some would say fairly or unfairly. I mean, he's got a knack for doing that. I don't know if this specific take is my point on Purdy was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to blow up the internet.
I think it was part of it. Like, I'm going to attack Purdy right now because he knows the Niners
Purdy thing is very...
The Niners fan base is rabid. And if I attack Purdy in the dumbest way possible, people are going to think I'm actually being serious and it's going to blow up. And guess what happened? It did.
Well, the Purdy thing was just like, who was it like a month ago or 2 months ago that said he couldn't be good because they thought his last name was stupid.
Oh, yeah.
There's not a franchise quarterback.
But that's like one of those things like when that part in Moneyball when all the
Football
old guys
talk.
are sitting
Yeah.
around the table and they're like, oh, well, he can't be good because his girlfriend's ugly.
The whole...
It's just
I
like,
would
what does that have to
let me
do
just
with
finish with
anything?
this. The reason Colin Cowherd only talks about quarterbacks and NBA stars is because that's what elicits reaction.
And that's why he did it today. Elicit a reaction because he knows this take gets reaction from people because when he's done it before in the past, it blows up.
Right. And that's...
Because people are like, you're an idiot.
Right. But I would just say, like, that's literally his job.
Do you think he cares, though? Would people call him an idiot?
No,
I wouldn't
not
if
at
I was
all.
him.
Not at all. Not at all. All right. On the other side, Trainwreck Radio. Call right now if you want a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. Great giveaway. This is a valuable prize. 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. The number to call is 844-570-1360. Again, 844-570-1360. Call right now if you want that 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. A great holiday gift. 844-570-1360. That's next. JD Gaucho, appreciate the super chat, man. Guys, if you are here, please subscribe. Year-round content for San Diego sports fans. Appreciate your support. Super chat. We get things during our breaks. You can $sign below the chat box if you want to contribute and get your question answered on air or on YouTube. JD Gaucho says, want to hit some golf balls. Colin's a riot. He said that in his little video today. Why? Because of the backwards hat?
Yeah.
Jim's mad.
Not mad because I know
It's pretty.
No, I'm
You're
legitimately
mad.
not mad about it. Like my buddies were today. The guy's an idiot. I'm like, guys, he's
Correct.
he doesn't. It's not something he fully believes.
Yeah.
He's doing it because it's his bit. His backwards hat bit came out of nowhere a couple years ago, and he's run with it forever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why to me the Craig Carton thing was worse because this is something he's been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like very original or new.
Right.
It's his
Like
thing.
your thing is never right.
Your thing is
whatever. Colin likes to rip people with backwards hats, and every time he does, he's always proven wrong. Guys he rips end up to be good.
and like Steve says, Colin's show is the same thing every day. He talks quarterbacks. And guess what? That's how he makes $25 million a year. Because for his audience, national, syndicated, big city, NFL markets, it works. Our local show is obviously different. So anyway, thanks, JD Gaucho. Appreciate it. Guys, thanks for hanging out. We'll be back in a moment. Thanks again. All right, we need a second contestant to play Greg in Trainwreck Radio. That's trivia for a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. The number to call if you want those tickets, a free 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration, 844-570-1360. You need to call right now. 844-570-1360. We're playing for a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld next. All right, we've got Thursday Night Football for you coming up tonight. You got Dak and the Cowboys, Seahawks, Thursday Night Football kicking off the NFL weekend. We'll have it for you here coming up at 5:15.
But Dak's going to be so distracted.
I know. Can he overcome that? And imagine if he was also wearing a backwards hat tonight.
Oh my gosh.
So he has the distraction. He has the backwards hat.
He's already embarrassing his unborn child.
But he's been playing great football. That's what Paul Charchian was telling us.
Who's Colin's like favorite of all time, like athlete, like the one that he just like can't stop talking about?
It's Russell Wilson in Seattle, Pete Carroll in Seattle.
Is it no?
Oh my gosh!
Is it LeBron? No, that's like Nick Wright. Is it Brady? I think it's
honestly,
Brady.
It's mostly West Coast people.
I would say seriously, not like it's not even an athlete. The person he's been most obsessed with because of his ties to LA and then Seattle is Pete Carroll. He has spent so much time obsessing over Pete Carroll in his career for 20 years.
When he was at USC, he was like a total Pete Carroll stan. He like would just ooze over him all the time.
So what if Pete Carroll was a backwards hat?
He does probably.
Well, he shouldn't because he's like 90 years old. So I'd be with him if Colin was like,
remember
dudes over 90 shouldn't wear backwards hats.
Hey, it's not tap on the mic.
He went after John Wall for like, dude, you sneeze every single second and like have no mic etiquette.
Me?
Correct.
I do.
What you sniffle into the microphone 3 hours a day?
Have I sniffled today?
No, but when you're sniffling, you do. But remember when he attacked John Wall for like 5 consecutive years?
Yeah. He also attacks Baker
KD
Mayfield.
all the time.
Yeah, but it's
KD
it works. It works.
His number one enemy is Aaron Rodgers.
So who do you think is his number one like rah behind?
I think at the end was Tom Brady. And Tom Brady has been seen wearing backwards hats multiple times.
Yeah, I know. You've made that point.
I know. I'm just saying, like, the bit has been run tired because of how easy it is to poke holes in it. Like, when you have a bit, you can't just have all of a sudden say someone posts like your favorite player is wearing a backwards hat. You know nothing.
Wait, what?
Never mind.
Okay, let's see the back of your head one more time. Let's get to this.
I'm gonna kill you.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's two contestants are Greg and George. Greg, you called in first. You have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
Going with John.
All right, Greg.
All right, George. That means you get me, okay?
So I got Jim, right?
You got Jim. George, Jim, Greg, John. All right? Cool. Brent, question.
All right, guys. Yesterday, Mark Cuban, as was announced, we had an agreement in place to sell the Mavericks. Cuban has owned the team since 2000, and the Mavericks have had the second best winning percentage in the NBA since 2000. Wow. Today's question: name any of the other top 8 teams in the NBA for winning percentage since 2000.
I like that.
It's a long time.
It is.
Okay, George, you're up first. What is your first guess? And you do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
I'm gonna say Celtics.
The Celtics.
That would have been my first guess.
The Celtics.
Has to be
Boston Celtics on the list. Good job, George. Greg, you're up next. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
I'm gonna guess the Warriors.
The Warriors.
It's been good 10 years in that 20. Is that enough for the top 8?
They sucked in the early 2000s.
No.
No. Yeah, they were horrible from like 2000 to 2015. Yep. George, you're up next. What is your next guess? You do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
I'm gonna go Spurs.
The Spurs. Very good guess. Very good guess.
Wow.
Yeah, very good
Greg,
guess.
we need a correct one here.
Yeah, Greg, you need a correct one to stay in the game. You do have a lifeline if you want to use it. What do you got?
Try Miami.
Miami.
I like it. Yeah.
Good guess. Good guess. George, final guess here. You could win it. You do have a lifeline if you want to use it. What do you got?
I think the Lakers are trapped, but I'm gonna go Lakers.
Lakers.
I say yes. It is a
Not
yes.
trap.
Wow.
You were the
George,
winner.
with the win. I mean, all the titles, even the down years at the end of Kobe.
The early
they've had good years too.
The 2000s were great. and then the middle, like 2010 to like
It was
20
bad.
whatever, it wasn't great. And then all of a sudden they got Paul Gasol and they became back-to-back champions. And then LeBron, and it's like they've been
good enough.
Good enough.
Well, I'm going to guess, Brent, that the Lakers would be closer to the bottom than the top.
They're in the middle.
I would say the Spurs are the top.
I'll say Celtics.
No, Spurs are the top.
Yeah.
Wow.
Spurs are the best. Then the Mavericks. Then the Celtics. Then the Heat. Then the Lakers.
Lakers are fifth.
The Jazz. The Nuggets. And then 8th was Houston.
Okay.
Where are the Pelicans on it?
No,
do you have last? Do you have last?
The worst looks like Orlando.
Yeah, Orlando Magic. They have like
It's
couple
so
good years
bad.
with Tracy McGrady.
Yeah. All right, congratulations to George. You've won a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration, where the wonders of the sea meet the joy of Christmas at SeaWorld San Diego's Christmas celebration. From underwater discoveries to San Diego's largest Christmas tree, the Sky Tower Tree of Lights. Experience thrilling rides to Mrs. Claus Christmas's parade, real reindeer, and photos of Santa. Taste heartwarming traditions and sing along to a stocking full of soul featuring America's Got Talent finalist Brian Cheatham. It's a holiday celebration filled with wondrous moments only at SeaWorld, November 17th through January 7th. Is Juan Soto in his final days as a San Diego Padre? The very latest on the trade market for Soto, plus Thursday Night Football, Cowboys, Seahawks at 5:15. It's hour 3. Jon and Jim next. Hey guys, it's Schaefer, and you've been hearing now for weeks that San Diego is among the most expensive cities in the country to live in, and with the year being almost over, you probably need cash for the holidays, or you want to be credit card debt free for the new year. You can call Loan Pronto today because their Express Equity line of credit can get you $20,000, $50,000, or $100,000 in as little as 5 days. You've got a ton of equity in your home, and Loan Pronto can help you turn that equity into cash. You can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use the money to pay off credit cards, pay off personal loans, do a home improvement project, add solar panels. You can get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact so that 3% rate is protected. And with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line program, 90% of the time, there's no need for an appraisal. You can get your money super fast, get the holiday cash you need, or pay off all those credit cards before the new year and get yourself on solid financial footing before the year ends by calling Loan Pronto now. Here's the number, 619-207-4336. Write this down, 619-207-4336, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 619-207-4336. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
This update's brought to you by Staples Stores. Thursday Night Football kicks off in about 15 minutes. Seahawks versus the Cowboys. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760 as we will go to live coverage there. Moving over to the Aztecs. They are back in action tomorrow night versus UC San Diego. 7 p.m. tip-off. 6 p.m. is pregame right here on San Diego Sports 760. And baseball news of the day, Nick Martinez, he signed a 2-year, $26 million deal with the Reds. Staples holiday deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 60% or 60% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/2. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 3, we're with you until 5:15 because Cowboys and Seahawks will kick off then. So let's get to the story of the day locally. Juan Soto's future. Winter meetings days away. All teams will be in Nashville beginning Sunday. Winter meetings will run for the better part of the week. A week from today, they will be over. Yesterday, Andy Martino of SNY saying Padres and Yankees have not only talked, they've discussed potential names. Dennis Lin saying today that Juan Soto's days in a Padres uniform appear numbered. Essentially, he's played his final game potentially.
Hit piece.
In a Padres uniform. Some people call it a hit piece, but the facts are the facts. And with the clock ticking towards 2024, the Padres need to lower payroll, and it might involve moving Juan Soto. So, Juan Soto, is he going to be moved? And if so, what does it mean for the San Diego Padres? Jim?
John? It means.
And what if he's wearing a hat backwards?
Oh no, he has been wearing. He has.
Well, then
worn,
trade
seen
that
that.
bastard right away.
Get him
I've
out of
seen that.
town.
Yeah.
Lazy bum.
Yeah.
Diva. Doesn't,
Yeah. What does that take about, by the way?
What?
Oh, Soto's not a team guy. He doesn't help. He plays 162 games, had by far and away the best offensive season of any Padre.
Right.
It wasn't good enough?
Wasn't good enough. I don't know. Whatever.
Right?
Yeah. Anybody out there that thinks that Juan Soto's not a good player, I don't know what to tell you.
Or like is lazy or not
Yeah,
motivated or not a team player. Really won a title with the Nationals.
It's like if you don't want Juan Soto on your team, like
I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
Exactly.
I mean, he's won a World Series. He's performed in some of the biggest moments in baseball in the postseason for the Padres and the Nationals. I mean, he's a walking 900 plus OPS guy every year. Like 900 OPS for him is like low.
Yeah.
And what did he have this past season?
I don't know, mid nines,
Like
over 9,
like a 930.
Did any Padre have an 8? He had a 9.
He was the only. Well, we know from Scott Boras, he was the only player with a 900 OPS on the team because he was very adamant.
930.
Okay,
Career 946.
hey, give me a break.
Yeah.
You don't want Juan Soto on your team. Like you're just being a hater.
Right.
I don't know for what reason. Like you're trying to pull what's like a bad take, reel like Colin or
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
or Nick Wright. So is he going to be traded? Probably. Does it suck? Absolutely. Is it maybe necessary? Maybe. Will it help the team in the long run? Maybe.
Arguably.
Will it help the team in the short term? Probably not.
Right.
There's a lot of variables here. It just goes back to if you want to get upset, if you want to find somebody to get upset about this Juan Soto deal, all right, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be upset about this. I guarantee you a lot of the Padres fans that aren't always on social media and maybe just read headlines and whatever, when they find out Juan Soto's traded, they are going to be pissed. Direct your anger not at the people reporting it, but at the people that are in charge of it and the reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's AJ Preller. I'm sorry. Like it's whenever he officially trades Juan Soto, we're going to crush him.
That's interesting. We're going to crush him even with it being an inevitability, like kind of knowing already that it's going to happen. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you traded Juan Soto.
No, it will be you did this. You didn't have a choice, and this is your fault for doing it. Like, so whenever you speak, don't tell me that you're like so sad about it that you had to trade Juan Soto because it was your fault. Like whenever he talks after this deal, and if he says anything about, oh, we didn't want to do this, and he's a great player, and we really wanted him on our roster and this core and blah, blah, blah. Like, don't give me that crap.
Right, we love our position player core.
Like, you did this, dude. It's your fault.
Okay. I feel as if this conversation started when you asked AJ Preller about it. Mike Schilt was getting introduced.
Are you guys talking about my back again?
Well, I just asked
Technically,
Brent.
we're texting.
Yeah, I asked Brent if he has the audio of Jim Russell's sit-down conversation with AJ Preller. It was a sit-down. You were sitting, he was sitting. So this was an exclusive interview, essentially, between Jim Russell and AJ Preller, with Jim asking at Mike Schilt's press conference last week about Juan Soto's future, and AJ Preller left it open-ended. Take a listen to how nervous.
Yes, for AJ. A couple weeks ago, Scott Boras mentioned that Juan Soto was in your plans for this upcoming season. Do you think that Juan Soto will be here next year, and do you expect him to be part of your plans for upcoming season?
Yeah, I think Juan Soto's a player like that's always in your plans. I think obviously that's the off season will. We'll get to the next couple of weeks and, continue conversations with Scott, Juan, and kind of get a sense of where he's at for, what it means down the road for San Diego in terms of a contract. And then also, we understand the value of Juan playing for us, next year on a contract year. So having his bat in the lineup is important. I think at the end of the day, you're always from an offseason standpoint, you'll listen and we'll listen, but we think our position player team is very strong. We'd like to keep that position player team together. We also understand we've got to go out and add some pitching to the group that we currently have. So I think that's what the next few weeks will be about.
So he didn't really say anything, but he said everything because he didn't guarantee Juan Soto was going to be back. He did say he was going to talk to Boras about essentially an extension. Imagine that next week. All this talk, he's dealt. 13 years, 530.
Also, one other narrative that I just want to kill right now.
What's the narrative?
If anybody is saying it's ridiculous. That he doesn't like that Juan Soto doesn't want to be here and he's forcing his way out and he wants to.
That's funny.
Like he doesn't like Manny Machado and he doesn't like Xander Bogaerts and he doesn't want to be here. Like, give me a freaking break.
What's funny because Boras is like, he wants to be in San Diego in 2024. Yeah. Like that's the preferred destination. Hector Gomez, by the way, take it for what it's worth, saying that Soto would prefer to be in San Diego.
Yeah. You know what I want to hear from AJ the second that they inevitably probably trade Juan Soto? I want to hear not that he's sorry, but that this is my fault. I didn't want to do this. We made some decisions that ended up putting us in this spot. And going forward, hopefully we can learn from this and not make those same mistakes in the future. But in the end, this is not something we wanted to do. But I take full responsibility for having to trade Juan Soto, one of the best players in baseball.
I remember my first day covering professional sports. That's not how organizations talk about their moves. Right?
Of course it's not.
So what you want to hear is not what you're going to hear.
I know. You're never going to hear that.
No.
You're going to hear.
He's going to tell you about the return and how it makes sense.
We love these players and blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
It gives us really good depth.
Right.
Remember, every trade deadline, it's like, oh yeah, those 3 no names that we just picked up, they're going to give us the depth that we need.
Like if he says we didn't want to, if he says at all, we didn't want to do this.
You may say that.
Like, of course you didn't, but you had to because why? You put the team in this position.
Correct.
Like,
what? I don't think. Here's the thing. I feel like we're bracing for impact because of all the talk over the previous days. This won't be a thin air trade. Right, a thin air trade, people would go ballistic.
Like if tomorrow Manny Machado was traded, that's a
thin air trade.
That's
a thin air trade. People would go ballistic. If Fernando Tatis Jr. was traded, I mean, it would be a shocker, a complete shocker, jaw dropping move. This will not be that. So because people are prepared for it, does it make it a little better for someone like AJ Preller and the organization? I would say yes. It's not ideal, but I think it makes it better because if you're a Padre fan, you'd have to be living under a rock to think that this isn't a possibility.
Especially when he's probably going to have an amazing season next year. It's just going to make things that much worse.
Right.
Like if he goes out next year and he wins the MVP with the Yankees, oh my God. It's going to suck.
Yes. But I mean, that's not my reason not to move him.
And like you said at the start of the show, this is a really good point.
Thank you. What did I say?
You are playing chicken if you don't move him. Because if you don't move him, you run the risk of obviously not re-signing him, which is very unlikely, and losing out on getting depth back for the team in the future, and the flexibility that you need to build a roster.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly right.
So, and the moves that they made leading up to this situation happening, or not happening yet, but it probably will. It's hard to say we want to focus all of our energy on making moves to make sure we have Juan Soto here for a long period of time, because who knows if he's even going to sign an extension.
So you build everything around Soto, and then he just leaves.
You kind of just have to move forward with like the mindset of, all right, he's going to be here for 3 years, and then we are going to move on. But the problem is he wasn't even here for 3 years if they trade him next week.
Now, I will say this, that the other side of the coin, and I'm taking Soto every day of the week over not having Soto, but I do think it's fair to say that, Juan Soto's time in San Diego was good, but not like all worldly. He had good moments.
I think it was
it was not all worldly. He hit 200 for 60 games. He had some moments in the postseason. He produced as the best offensive player for a team that wasn't very good. It wasn't like this was Mike Trout and the Angels in his prime, because that's not what we just saw for the last year and a half.
But can you define his time here with the Padres as like real? I mean, last year was a failure.
Right. No,
and
I
they
agree.
made the NLCS, but like they had one playoff run.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like it's not like what we're like. Give me the top 5 Soto moments. My point is they're not very distinguishable. Like his time in a Padres uniform, that's what was good, but it wasn't unbelievable.
His top 5 moments are his Game 4 versus the Dodgers here at Petco,
adding on to the lead
when he was
Game 3 or Game 4.
Game 4.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, his Game 3 hit versus the Mets to add on to the lead, big double there.
But again, add on. I'm with you. I was selling that last year.
I know.
But again, like, give me the moment. Was it against the Phillies in Game 5 in the rain? The home run?
Big home run, but they were still trailing. They're down 3-0. His big home run in Game 4 that turned out to be nothing because they kept Clevenger and Manaea in the game.
But don't you kind of agree? I mean, again, very good player. I want him. I've been selling you on Soto for a year and a half. But it's not like we just witnessed the best 200-game run in Padres history.
It was the go-ahead single in Game 4. And then Cronenworth added on with the double.
Cronenworth added on? Is that what they're saying in the chat? Is that right?
Is that right? That's what
I don't remember it that way.
That's what our buddy Quan says.
Quan, is that right?
This is Game 4. He had a go-ahead single.
We'll look during Thursday Night Football.
Well, anyway.
But that's my point. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That big home run versus the Dodgers with a meaningless game in September this past year.
That was big. That was
huge.
Very big.
Massive.
I'm going to look that up at the break, but we're not coming back.
But we're not coming back. So
if you missed anything today, they scored 5 in the bottom of the 7th inning. You need to look up how they scored those 5 runs. SportsSD.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. Find us on YouTube. Search for Jon and Jim 760. Find us on social media at Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM. On the other side,
nothing.
Cowboys, Seahawks. Oh. What happened?
You said on the other side. I said nothing.
Well, Cowboys and Seahawks.
Well,
that's just dead air. Dead air coming up next for Brent and Jim.
Don't joke about that, dude.
I'm John. Cowboys, Seahawks, or dead air next. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Okay, peace out. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello.